Artificial intelligence is changing the landscape of countless industries, and the legal field is no exception. Patent attorneys, who have traditionally relied on a specific set of skills and practices, are now facing a paradigm shift driven by AI technologies. In today's episode, we'll delve into how AI is disrupting the traditional business model of patent attorneys, influencing everything from their day-to-day workflow to the services they provide and the expectations clients have. We'll explore the challenges and opportunities this transformation brings to the legal industry. Welcome to this episode of Legal Tech with Alphalect.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we kind of help you cut through all that noise and get straight to what matters. Today we're taking a look at the future of patent law and whether it involves a whole lot more AI. You might be a patent attorney yourself, or maybe you're just curious about how this whole tech revolution is going to shake up a very specialized field. Either way, we've got you covered. We're diving deep into this blog post that really lays out some fascinating questions. Is writing a patent application going to be as simple as asking your computer to just do it someday? How much of what patent attorneys do now is going to be done by AI? And what does that even mean for businesses and inventors who rely on patents to protect their ideas? All right, expert speaker. What's the single most important thing our listener needs to know about this whole, AI and patent law situation?
I think the key takeaway here is that patent law, more than perhaps any other area of law, is incredibly vulnerable to being disrupted by AI. A huge part of the job involves poring over text, searching through mountains of existing patents, comparing inventions, crafting those very precise and detailed applications. And this is precisely the kind of work that AI is becoming incredibly good at.
So it's not just a question of if AI is going to impact patent law, but how MUCH and how fast, right?
Exactly. The blog post we're looking at cites a Goldman Sachs report that estimated 44% of all legal tasks could be automated. But in patent law specifically, that number could be significantly higher. Think about it. For European patent attorneys, especially those dealing with international clients, a lot of their interactions are limited to exchanging documents. It's all about the text.
So we're not talking about some distant sci-fi future. This is happening now. Can you give us some concrete examples of how AI is already being used in patent law today?
Absolutely. We're seeing AI being utilized for tasks like patent searches, which involves sifting through enormous databases to figure out if an invention is truly novel. There's also prior art analysis, where AI can help determine if a similar idea has already been patented. And perhaps most strikingly, AI is even being used to help draft patent documents.
Drafting the actual documents, that's a pretty big deal. But it makes me wonder if AI can do all of that. What does it mean for the future of patent attorneys themselves?
It's understandable that some patent attorneys might be feeling concerned. AI could potentially replace many of the roles that focus on those more routine tasks. And even if it doesn't lead to outright job displacement, there's going to be significant economic pressure.
Because clients will want lower fees if the work's being done by a machine.
Precisely. Clients are going to demand lower fees if machines can do the work faster and more affordably. And then there's the rise of what are called alternative legal service providers, or ALSPs. These are companies that are using AI to offer patent services at a fraction of the cost of traditional law firms.
So while there are definitely some challenges here, the blog post doesn't paint a completely bleak picture for patent attorneys, does it? It hints at some potential opportunities as well.
That's right. It's important to remember that AI isn't just about replacing humans. It's also about augmenting them, making them more effective. AI could free up patent attorneys from those tedious, repetitive tasks, allowing them to focus on higher-level work such as strategy, client relationships, and areas where human judgment is still critical.
So instead of being replaced, patent attorneys could actually level up and become even more valuable. What kind of new skills are we talking about here? What would someone need to thrive in this AI-powered future of patent law?
Data analysis is going to be absolutely crucial. Patent attorneys will need to be able to understand and interpret the data that AI produces, spot patterns, and make strategic decisions based on that data. It's not enough to just know the law anymore. You need to understand the technology behind the law, the AI itself, and how to use it effectively. The blog post even mentions a shift towards something called technology management.
What would technology management look like for a patent attorney?
It's about becoming fluent in the language of AI. You need to know how to choose the right AI tools for the job, how to oversee the process, how to ensure the AI is doing what it's supposed to do accurately. It's a whole new set of responsibilities.
It sounds like patent attorneys are going to need to be continuously learning and adapting, almost like tech entrepreneurs themselves. But what about the law firms? How can they prepare for this AI-driven future?
Law firms need to be proactive, not reactive. They need to invest in AI training programs for their attorneys, helping them develop these new skills. And they need to develop clear roadmaps for integrating AI into their workflows, considering things like data security and how to manage this transition smoothly.
So law firms are essentially going to need to become AI-powered themselves. But let's be realistic. A lot of this comes down to money. We talked about clients wanting lower fees. But how can firms afford to invest in all this new technology and training while also remaining competitive on price?
That's a great question, and it's something that many firms are wrestling with right now. They're going to have to get creative and rethink their billing models. Maybe they'll start offering more fixed fee services for AI assisted tasks. Or perhaps they'll move towards subscription based models where clients pay a monthly fee for access to a suite of AI powered legal services. The key is transparency. Firms need to be open with their clients about how they're using AI and how it benefits them in terms of both cost and quality.
Okay, so we've got patent attorneys learning data science, law firms becoming tech companies. Sounds like a whole new world. But the blog post also emphasizes the importance of collaboration and innovation. What does that look like in practice?
It means breaking down the silos between lawyers and technologists. Law firms need to work hand in hand with AI developers, data scientists, and other tech experts. They need to understand each other's language and challenges, to work together to create solutions that benefit everyone.
So it's not just about lawyers using AI. It's about lawyers and AI developers co-creating the future of patent law together. That's pretty fascinating. What does this all mean for you, our listener? If you're a patent attorney, how can you start preparing for this AI-driven future today? And if you're a business or inventor, how might AI change the patent landscape and your ability to protect your ideas? We'll tackle those questions right after this. We were just talking about some pretty big shifts happening in patent law with AI, entering the scene. It's easy to get caught up in how this impacts the attorneys themselves. Well, let's kind of shift gears and talk about what this means for the people who rely on patents, the businesses, the inventors. What changes are they going to see?
If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, this integration of AI into patent law isn't just about, efficiency or cost savings. It's about fundamentally changing who has access to patent protection in the first place. Imagine a world where anyone with a good idea can use AI to draft a patent application without needing to hire an expensive attorney. That could be incredibly empowering for smaller inventors and startups, letting them compete on a more level playing field with those larger companies.
That's a really interesting point. It could make innovation more accessible to everyone. But could there be any downsides to this kind of democratization of patents?
Absolutely. If AI makes getting a patent easier, we could see a massive increase in patent applications, which could overwhelm patent offices and make it even harder to get timely decisions. There's also the question of quality. If everyone is using AI to write patent applications, are we going to see a decline in the overall quality of those applications?
So potential for more patents, but maybe not all of them good ones. Is there also a risk that people could use AI to try and game the system, to generate patents that are too broad or even frivolous?
Those are definitely valid concerns. And it highlights why we need careful consideration and regulation as AI becomes more integrated into the patent system. We need to find ways to balance the benefits of AI, the efficiency, the accessibility, the potential for increased innovation, with the need to maintain the integrity and quality of the patent system itself.
Okay, so there's a lot to think about, both in terms of the benefits and the potential pitfalls. But for our listeners who are patent attorneys right now, what concrete steps can they take to start preparing for this AI-driven future today?
The most important thing is to embrace a mindset of lifelong learning. The legal field is changing rapidly, and that pace of change is only going to accelerate. Patent attorneys need to constantly be updating their knowledge and skills, not just in law, but also in technology, data analysis, and AI.
So it's about becoming more than just a lawyer. It's about becoming a truly tech-savvy legal professional.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual attorneys, it's about law firms as a whole. Firms need to foster a culture of innovation and continuous learning. They need to invest in training programs, create opportunities for experimentation, and encourage their attorneys to explore these new technologies and approaches.
I imagine this also involves building strong relationships with the people creating this technology, the AI developers and data scientists we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Collaboration is going to be key. Patent attorneys need to break out of their silos and start working closely with tech experts. They need to be able to speak each other's language, understand each other's challenges, and work together to come up with solutions that benefit both the legal and the tech worlds.
It's about bridging that gap between law and technology and creating a new kind of legal ecosystem where both sides can thrive. But we've talked a lot about the challenges and opportunities for patent attorneys. Let's bring it back to the clients, the businesses and inventors who are relying on patents to protect their ideas. How might AI affect them specifically?
The most immediate impact is likely going to be on cost. As AI makes patent work more efficient, we should see a decrease in the overall cost of obtaining a patent. This could be a huge advantage for small businesses and individual inventors, who often struggle to afford traditional legal services.
So, in a way, AI could actually level the playing field
Mm.
and make it easier for the little guy to protect their inventions.
Exactly. And beyond the cost, AI could also make the entire patent process faster and more transparent. Imagine using AI-powered tools to search for prior art, draft your patent application, and even track the progress of your application through the patent office, all in real time. That could drastically simplify the process and make it much easier for inventors to understand what's happening at each stage.
That sounds fantastic. Are there any potential downsides for clients to be aware of in this AI-driven future?
Well, one potential concern is the risk of unforeseen biases. AI systems learn from the data they're trained on. So if that data is skewed in a certain direction, the AI could unintentionally perpetuate those biases.
Can you give us an example of what that might look like in the context of patent law?
Sure. Imagine an AI system that's trained primarily on a data set of patents filed by large corporations. That system might be less likely to recognize the patentability of inventions coming from smaller businesses or individual inventors, simply because it hasn't seen as many examples of those types of patents in its training data.
That's an important point. We need to ensure that AI is being used fairly and equitably within the patent system. So for our listeners who are business owners or inventors, what's the key takeaway here? How should they be thinking about AI and its potential impact on their intellectual property strategy?
First and foremost, they need to be aware of how quickly AI is advancing and how it's already changing the patent landscape. Stay informed about the new tools and services that are emerging and how they can be used to your advantage. It's also crucial to be proactive in seeking out legal advice from attorneys who are knowledgeable about AI and its implications for patent law.
So find an attorney who speaks both law and AI.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, be open to new ways of thinking about intellectual property protection. The traditional model of relying solely on patents might not be the most effective approach in the age of AI. You might need to consider other strategies, such as trade secrets, defensive publishing, or open source licensing.
It's about being adaptable, staying ahead of the curve, and finding the right strategy for your specific needs in this rapidly evolving landscape. This has been incredibly insightful, expert speaker.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious, what's one big question that this whole discussion raises for you? Something that maybe wasn't explicitly mentioned in the blog post, but is worth pondering as we move further into this AI-powered future.
One thing that really stands out to me is the potential for a power shift within the patent system itself. Right now, patent law is incredibly specialized, and navigating it can be both costly and complex. If AI can simplify and automate some of those processes, it could empower many more people to protect their inventions. That could lead to a huge surge in innovation. But it also brings up this crucial question. Will this democratization of access to patent protection ultimately benefit society as a whole? Or will it just result in more patents being filed by those who can afford the most sophisticated AI tools, further concentrating power and wealth in the hands of a select few? It's a classic case of a technological advancement with potential benefits, but also unintended consequences.
That is a thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
It seems like every time we solve one problem with technology, we just create a new set of challenges to grapple with.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to think critically about the potential impacts of AI, and to work towards ensuring that it's used in a way that benefits everyone.
Well said. For our listeners out there, whether you're a patent attorney preparing for this wave of AI, a business leader looking to protect your intellectual property, or just someone fascinated by this intersection of technology and law, the key takeaway here is this: stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay adaptable. This is really just the beginning of the AI revolution in patent law.
There are still so many unanswered questions, and the landscape is going to continue to evolve rapidly.
Who knows, maybe someday your patent attorney will be an AI. But until then, we'll be here to keep you ahead of the curve, diving deep into the most fascinating and important topics of our time. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep exploring.